My name is Thomas Bays Hollis, and I went into the Navy Reserve after I served active duty. And I was a lieutenant, senior grade. I was a kid growing up, an active kid, an independent kid. And I used to go around with this lady who had a friend who was a Navy officer. And you know, that uniform affected me. I wanted to wear one. So that was my first introduction to the Navy, watching this guy in his uniform and so on. So after I became a pharmacist, I decided there's not enough money in this. So my draft number came up. And so I went down to Second and Market, signed up in the Army. Went back to the draft board, I'm in the Army. And a fellow named Barbet said to me, I was in World War I in the Navy. He said, you've got a bachelor's degree, you should not go in the Army as a buck private. He said, go in the Navy, you'll get a rating. And so he talked me into it. And I thought it was a good idea. So I went back to the Second and Market, enlisted the Navy. The draft board chucked me out of the Army. So now I'm in the Navy. And they gave me a rating of a second-class pharmacist mate because I was a registered pharmacist. And that was the beginning. I guess that was in 1942. Well, I lived at 59 Weneva Street, my wife's home. I went back and forth every day. I met my wife in the drugstore. I used to work in the drugstore just down the street from where she lived. And she used to come in and look at our reading library and take a book out. So I got to know her in the drugstore. And then I used to watch her walk her back to her house, and I thought to myself, there's a beautiful woman. I think I'll marry her someday. But I wasn't ready to marry her then. But I thought she was wonderful. So I didn't marry her until I joined the Navy in uniform, and we married. They gave me the rating, pharmacist mate, second class, and I spent 1 year at the Naval Hospital on South Broad Street in Philadelphia as a corpsman. I did 2 duties there. My first duty was a watch from 4 a.m. to 8 a.m., watching a World War I veteran who was dying. He was in bed dying, and I had to watch over him from 4 in the morning till 8. And he actually died at 6 o'clock on my watch. So then they decided to put me in charge of what they call the nut ward. This was a long breezeway in the basement with about 12 rooms on each side, and the kids from the fleet came in, people from the Army who had been in the war came in. They were mentally destroyed, you know. So I call it the nut ward, because they were rather hard to take care of. But that was my job, to take care of them, see that they were okay. And I'll never forget one Army veteran. He was uncontrollable, so we finally put him in they called a bag. It's canvas. We wrapped him in canvas and we put him in cold water to calm him down. He was nuts. So he was a problem. And then this young Italian boy from the Navy decided he wanted to get out. So they had heavy doors on each side of this encampment. And the glass was about a 1/4 inch thick. He put his hand right through it. grabbed a piece of grass. I went to take it from him. He said, "I'll cut your throat if you come near me." So I backed off and I called the commander on the telephone, and he came, an officer with his uniform, kid scared to death. He just walked over and took the class from him. And that was the end of that. Now, what I did in that war to keep those kids quiet, I would play cards with them. Anything to keep them calm and quiet. The commanding officer never saw me until I decided to become an officer. Then I went to his office and I said, "Commander, I'd like to be released. I want to go to Notre Dame." He said, "You can't." He says, "I need you here." I said, "Look, you've got 20 other hospital corpsmen. You don't really need me." So I begged him, and finally he says, "Okay, I'll sign the papers." So he gave me the release. He didn't want to, but he gave it to me. And I went to Notre Dame on my own, and I enlisted. When I was younger, my lady friend had an officer friend in uniform one day. I saw him, and it turned me on. Not only that, I wanted to be an officer because I wanted to earn more money. And I felt being an officer, you get a little more respect than you do from an enlisted man.